Hello, sweet friends. Thank you so much for joining me for the tutorial on the awkward granny square blanket. We're doing the pumpkin spice edition for this one. And what this blanket is made up of is one huge square, and then it will go into some smaller squares. It does, don't mind my ends, I'm weaving those in. And then we have some striping here, and then we go into tiny granny squares, and then eventually we will be putting on a border. So what I'm going to start with is this center square, and we are going to move out. All of the colors are listed in the description, and the color order that I used, how many rows I used for each of those colors, that is all listed in the description, so you can go visit that if you would like to get the color order for this blanket and you want to use the colors exactly the same that I did and in the same order that I did. But really, you could do whatever order you want, however many colors you want in between rows. You can really make it however you would like to make it. The colors that I chose for this blanket was going off of the color theme of this coffee bag. I just thought it was so cute that they had colors that were not traditional fall colors, like the teal, this purplish pink color, the blue, and I really loved that those were such unique colors on a fall themed coffee bag. So I wanted to recreate those colors into this blanket. So that is what I did for the color theme and color scheme of this. And let's get started on the tutorial. I am using Big Twist Value yarn. You can use whatever medium 4-weight yarn you would prefer, but this is the brand that I went with. This is originally a Joanne brand yarn, but Michaels is carrying it now, and also Hirschner's. I have the link for both of those sites in the description if you would like to purchase Big Twist Value yarn. So all of the colors and the color order and the amount of rows and everything that I used is in the description. All of the yardage that I used for each color is also in the description, so feel free to check that out for all of that information. I am going to go over the basic granny square layout for this blanket, and the squares are made the same throughout. So let's get started on that. I am using a 5.5 millimeter hook, and we are going to start with a magic ring. So how you start this is you lay the yarn across your two fingers here, grab it with your thumb. You're going to wrap your yarn around your fingers twice. And then on the third wrap, you are going to cross over. So you've got two wraps, and then that last wrap is crossed over. You're going to go under the two loops that you have first, the first two loops, and then grab the top loop and pull that through the other two. Then I'm going to do a little twist here, and I'm going to grab this yarn that was wrapped around and just do one chain. So now your loop is nice and secure. Your little ring is secure. You've got two loops in your tail. And now I'm going to chain 4 more, so we have a total of 5 chains. Now this is going to count as our first double crochet and a chain 2 space. Now I'm going to work 3 more doubles into that magic ring. And I have my full side right there. I'm going to chain 2 for my corner and do another 3 double crochets for our second side. chain 2 for our next corner, and 3 doubles into that ring again. All right, chain 2 for the last corner. And since we have, let's see, we've got 3 full sides here, our 3 double, 3 double, 3 double with our chain 2 in between. And remember, this space here, this chain 5 counts as a double crochet and a chain 2 space. So that would be part of our last side. So I need 2 more doubles to complete that side. All right. And we're going to close up this ring. So I'm going to pull my tail and see which one of those loops moves first. All right. So it was that loop that moved. So I'm going to tug that one closed. It's going to close up the other loop, and then I'm going to take the tail and close up that other loop. And once we have our center closed up, we are going to slip stitch into that chain 5 space. And now we have the first row here. All right. So now I'm going to continue going up for the next row. And this first color, I'm doing 3 rows of this color. So I'm going to chain 5 again. And that is counting as my first double and a chain 2 space. And I'm going to continue with this corner by working 3 doubles into that corner space. All right, now we're going to skip over this 3 double crochet cluster from the previous row and work into this next corner with 3 double crochets. Going to chain 2 for my corner space and put 3 more doubles into that corner. And that will complete that corner for us. Now we're going to skip over this cluster and work another corner into this corner, which is always going to be 3 doubles, chain 2, 3 doubles. And that's for every single corner, unless it is our first and last corner that we do just a tiny bit differently. But every other corner is 3 doubles, chain 2, 3 doubles. Right. 3 doubles, chain 2, 3 doubles into the next space. All right, our last side. So I'm going to skip over that cluster and do 2 double crochets into this corner space. And that will complete that first corner that we started. All right, now I'm going to slip stitch into that chain 5 space. And that closes up our corner. So that is our second row. We're going to do our third row, starting the same way. So it's 5 chains, 3 double crochets into the corner, skip that cluster and work 3 doubles into this next corner. I'm sorry, this next space. Okay, so I've got the start of my corner, I've got a side space, and I'm working into the next corner with 3 doubles, chain 2, 3 doubles. All right. And skipping that next cluster, working 3 doubles into the next. All right, skipping that cluster and working 3 doubles, chain 2, 3 doubles into this corner. Skip this next cluster, work 3 doubles into that space. Skip that next cluster and working 3 doubles into that next corner. 3 doubles, chain 2, 3 doubles. And then skipping over that cluster, working in the space with 3 doubles. Skipping over that cluster and working our last 2 doubles into that space. In the corner, finish that off. All right, and then slip stitch into that chain 5 space. All right, that completes the first section of color. So I am going to cut my yarn, leaving enough yarn to weave in your ends. I'm just going to chain 1 and then pull my yarn all the way through and pull it tight. So that is my first start there. Now I'm going to take my next color, and for me it is cream. So I'm going to start with a slip knot, and I'm going to attach it to any corner and just do a little slip stitch there to attach it. All right, and then I'm going to chain 5, and it really is the exact same thing. So I'm going to finish, or I'm going to do the next side of this corner with 3 doubles. Right. Skip over that next cluster, and I'm working into the side here with 3 doubles. And if you've never done granny squares before, every row that you make adds another side space. And I'll show you in just a moment. So you can see here, that is our first row. This is our second row. And you can see there is one side space on that second row. You've got your corners, one side space. This next row of the green has your 2 corners and 2 side spaces. And then this row will end up being your corners and 3 side spaces. So it just continues to go up a side space every single row. And that's how it grows. All right, so I'm working my corner again, and it's like always 3 doubles, chain 2, 3 doubles. All right, and then 3 doubles in each of the side spaces, and 3 double, chain 2, 3 double in all the corners. And I'll be right back when we meet back up at the last corner. Here is our completed row, and I did my 2 doubles at the end here, and I'm just going to slip stitch into that chain 5 space like we have done for each row. And I'm going to chain one, cut my yarn, and just pull that end through and pull it tight. And that is my color change. Now, again, just to show you one more time, your color change, you're just doing a slip knot, attaching to any corner with a slip stitch, chain 5, do your 3 doubles for the other side of this corner, and it just continues exactly like this for every single row, every color change. Like I mentioned, each row adds another side space for you, so this row would end up being 4 side spaces, and you are just going to continue this part of your blanket for 44 rows. If you would like to see the color pattern that I have used with the colors listed, you can check that out in the description. If you would like to do your own colors and changes the way you would like, please feel free to do whatever is the best for your blanket. If you want to do more or less colors, you can absolutely do that. You don't need to follow anything that I did. I'm just giving you the counts of rows that build this blanket. So feel free to use your creativity and your own personality to make this blanket your own. I would love to see the pictures of your blankets and anything that you do on the community page. That would be so fun for me to see what you guys are making. So, all right, so continue this way of building your square until you reach 44 rows, and then I will show you the next step. Now, for the next step of your blanket, we are adding the first row of squares around or along the top part of the square that you have just created. So we are going to start exactly the same way. This square is going to be the same instructions except for the last row of the square. So this square is going to be 4 rows. So I'm going to do 3 rows and then I will show you what the 4th row looks like and how we join it. So we're starting the same way with our magic ring. So wrapping our yarn around twice, crossing over, grabbing, and exactly the same way, starting with 5 chains and work all the way around. Work the first 2 rows in the same color, and then I switch colors for the 3rd row, and then I work the original color on the 4th row. So go ahead and work your 2 rows of your first color, and I will be right back. And after you have completed your first 2 rows of the one color, we are going to add our next color. So it's just adding the exact same way that you have been adding them and do your next color. Mine is the purplish pink color. So I'm going to add 1 row of that and I'm going to finish off, cut my yarn, and I'll be right back with you when we do our 4th row and attach it to the existing blanket that we have. All right, so this is my finished square. I have done my first 2 rows of one color, and then I have done my 3rd row in the next color. And now I'm going to show you how we are going to attach this square to our blanket. So what we do is we grab our yarn and we're going to do slip knot, just like we have on the previous rows. And instead of attaching to the base of this and doing a chain 5, we are going to be doing a standing double crochet. Now, if you don't want to do a standing double crochet, you can do the same, attach the yarn and do a chain 3, but it would only be a chain 3 that you're doing, not a chain 5. So I'm going to start with a standing double, and how I do that is I have my slip knot on my hook. I wrap the yarn around and I hang on to these 2 loops with my finger on my hook, and I go into the corner space, pull up a loop. I've got 3 loops on my hook, wrap around. I'm going to hold the tail of this color so that it does not spin around my hook. And I'm going to pull this loop through the first 2 loops on my hook. All right, I'm still holding this tail so it doesn't go anywhere. Wrap around my yarn, pull through the remainder 2 loops, the remaining 2 loops. And that is a standing double crochet. Now, if again, like I said, if you would like to attach your yarn and chain 3, you can also do that. I just like the look of the standing double a little bit better than chains. So then you're going to complete this side of the corner with 2 more doubles in the same space. All right, and then I am going to work 3 rows or 3 sides of this row, and I will meet back up with you when we get ready to attach it with the 4th row. So you're going to work all the way around and only work 1/2 of your corner on this corner. Now, to add the first square to the main part of your blanket, you are going to be attaching as we go. And you can see on this side, we have 1, 2, 3, 4 clusters. So that gives you an idea of how many clusters you're going to need to space this out for. So we are going to start on after the 4th cluster. So you can see your corner cluster here. Got 1, 2, 3, 4. So we are going to attach into this space right here. So the first thing I'm going to do after I have completed my 3 rows or my 3 rounds of this row, I'm going to chain 1, and now I'm going to slip stitch into this space. So I'm going to go into the space, bring up a loop, and bring that loop right through the loop on my hook. And you can see we have attached that to that space. Now we're going to complete this side of the corner by doing 3 double crochets like normal. So 3 doubles into that corner. And I find that this is the easiest to do on a flat surface like a table, especially if you're just starting out with a join as you go. All right, so now you can see we have this cluster is matching up with this cluster. And now we need to attach to this next space. So we are going to put our hook into that space, pull up a loop, pull that loop through the blanket and through that loop on your hook. And now we have attached a second time. And we are going to do our cluster in this space as usual. So 3 double crochets. All right, so you can see that cluster is lining up well with that one. All right, so go into that space, pull up a loop, pull it through the loop on your hook. That's attached again. And we're working another 3 doubles into that space. And again, we are attaching into that next space. So put your hook into that space, pull up a loop, pull it through the loop on your hook. And we're going to complete our last cluster into this corner space. So 3 doubles there. And now we are going to attach to the corner. So we have just completed our three doubles. We've just completed our three doubles here, and we're going to slip stitch into this chain two corner space, same as we have been. Now I'm going to chain one, and I'm going to slip stitch into the first double that we made for this row. And I think that the standing double crochet just makes it very nice and seamless to attach to. If you did a chain three, you're just going to attach to that chain three. And then chain one, cut your yarn, and pull through. Now we are going to attach our second square. So I have started with two sides that I have worked, and now we're going to attach the same way to the main blanket. So I have left four clusters, 1, 2, 3, 4, and I'm working in the following space. So I have chained one on this side, this corner, and I'm slip stitching into this space on the blanket. All right, now I'm going to finish my square and finish my corner with my three double crochets into that corner. And just like we did here, I am doing the same thing with joining in between the clusters so that the clusters line up across from each other. So it's just a slip stitch into that space, chain or three doubles into that next space, slip stitch into the space across the one I'm working onto the main blanket, and three doubles in the next space on the square. All right, slip stitch into the space on the blanket, three doubles on the first side of this corner, and I'm going to attach in the same space that the first square was attached to. So I'm just going to slip stitch right into that same space, and I'm going to chain one for that corner. And I'm going to turn this direction and work this way, attaching to this previous square. And I like to turn my blanket so that I am working horizontally. That's the easiest way for me to crochet, but right now I can't turn it because of the space that I have my blanket on right now. But I'm just going to I'm just going to move sideways here so that you can see what I'm doing. So I'm going to work into that same corner and work the second side of the corner with three double crochets. And I'm going to attach in the space across on this other corner or this, this other square. So slip stitch there. Now you can see that both corners are attached to the blanket and attached to each other. And you're just going to continue going down this side with three doubles into the square that we're working in and slip stitching into the corresponding space on the square above it. All right, three more doubles into this space. A slip stitch into this space above on the other square. And three doubles into this last corner. So now we are going to attach with a slip stitch into that corner space and chain one. I chain one, and now I'm going to attach with a slip stitch to my first stitch. Just the same, I'm going to chain one, cut my yarn, and pull that through and tighten it up. And that is how you're going to add all of your squares across the side. And I'm going to show you a picture of what the color lineup looks like. I did the same order of color number one through, or, the first color. I alternated, just went through one, two, three, four, five, and um, just kept repeating that. And then the secondary color here, I just did purple, blue, purple, blue, purple, blue, and you'll see that on the picture so that you can make your blanket the same. I'm doing both sides of the blanket exactly the same. So from left to right, the squares are the same, and then starting on the same direction on the opposite side, I'm doing the same colors for each one. You can see that in the picture as well. So very simple, just continuing with the uh, same color order throughout. Now we're going to add the row in between our medium-sized squares and our tiny squares. And what we're going to do is start on the right side of the blanket. And you're just going to attach the yarn the way that we have been doing with a slip knot. And we're going to put a slip stitch over here in this corner of the square. And then we're going to chain three. That counts as a double crochet. And then we're going to double crochet one into that same corner space. All right, and now we are going to put 3 double crochets into each of these spaces along the squares. And when you get to your corner, we're going to do something a little bit different. Instead of working into the corner spaces, we are going to be working between these squares right here. So that space right there. We are going to use this space as the next side space for us. So skipping both of these corner spaces, and we're working into that join little space right there. The space right between the join. So 3 double crochets into that space. All right, so it's going to look like that. And then you just continue along the edge here. And I'll meet back up with you when we reach the other end. Now at the opposite end, we have just that corner space left, and we're going to put 2 doubles into that space. And you can do as many rows as you want of this. I'm going to do 3 rows of the teal color. I'm going to do 1 accent color, which I believe I did orange on the other side. and then 2 more rows of the teal color. So I did 6 rows total, but you could do as many rows as you would like. But uh, we do have to end on an even row for the small squares to line up properly. All right, so for our next row, I am going to chain 3 and turn. And now we are going to work right into this next space, and that is the 3 double crochets. All right, so that's what our end looks like. On our odd rows, we are going to end with 2 doubles in the end. So it's going to be on your first side, it would be the chain 3 and a double crochet in the space. And on the ending side, it will be 2 double crochets into the space. And then for our even rows, you're going to start with a chain 3 and you're going to end with one single crochet in the first double of the row. So I will show you on the other end what that looks like in just a second. Now at the end of the second row, we are going to end with 1 double crochet in the top of that chain 3 that we made for the first row. So just 1 double. All right. So the way that the rows work with the first row and any odd row, you're going to start with a chain 3 and work a double crochet into the same space. And then you're going to uh, do your 3 double crochet clusters all the way across. And when you reach the other end of your row, you will finish with a 2 double crochet in the last corner. Then you start your row with 3 chains, and that counts as a double crochet. And you continue your clusters all the way across until you reach the end. And then you put your 1 double crochet in the top of that chain 3 space, or that chain 3 that you started that counts as a double crochet. So the odd rows will end in 2 double crochets because that chain 3 counts as a double crochet. So odd rows start and end with 2 double crochets, and even rows start and end with 1 double crochet. So that chain 3 counts as a double crochet. And then it just alternates every other row. So every odd row looks like this, every even row looks like this. And you want to make sure that you end your rows in an even number because we want this section to end in a space right here where it's only the 1 double crochet with the space here. So that's what our goal is. You can do as many as you'd like, but like I said, I did 6 total. I did 3 of this teal, 1 orange, and 2 teal. So that was 6 total. And when you are joining a new color, you would just slip stitch your new color into the previous stitch that you just made, and then continue your row as you would with any other color switch. So now when we turn our row for this one, we have our chain 3. We're going to turn our work, and we are going to work right into that double crochet that we made there where our chain is coming out of. Just like that. Right. So that's our 2 doubles in that first stitch there. So the first row we worked into that space, and then all of the odd rows after that you're working into that double crochet below. And then you're just going to work your 3 double crochet clusters into each space all the way across like we've been doing. So at the end of this row, since this is an odd row, we are going to end with 2 double crochets in that space right there. So put 2 doubles in there. All right, so 2 doubles. And now we are going to cut our yarn to add our color change. So I'm going to chain 1, cut my yarn, and pull that tight. And then I am going to be attaching into that last double crochet. I am using my pumpkin color. So slip knot and then a slip stitch into that last double that we made. Slip stitch, chain 3, and then we are going to start our 3 double crochet clusters into those spaces there. And you're doing that all the way across. And just like we have been doing every other row, for even rows, this is going to end in a double crochet on the other end. You're just going to work in the chain 3 space that we have of the previous row. Or I'm sorry, in the top of the chain 3 that counts as a double crochet on the opposite end of the row. And that is what you're going to do for the rest of the rows for this section. And I am ending on 6 rows. You can do however many even rows you would like. All right, now we are going to start adding our mini squares. So we are going to add them the same direction that we did these medium size squares or the small size squares. So we are going to start with the center of the mini square, and it's just the same as anything else that we have started, and that is the magic ring. And we are just going to do the center just the same as every other square. And then after this center, we are going to cut the yarn, and then the next row is going to be the attach and the join as you go. So there are only 2 rows in these mini squares, and the second row is going to be the join as you go row. All right, so I've got 1, 2, 3, just have to finish this side. All right, close up my magic ring here and attach with a slip stitch. I'm going to chain 1 and cut my yarn here. That is my first row. So then my second row, and I will show you a picture of the full blanket so that you can see the order of the colors that I used, but you can use whatever order you'd like. But each square is just 2, the mini squares are just 2 colors, so you can see which one is which. All right, so same as any other time, we are attaching our second color, and I am just doing a standing double crochet. Again, if you don't want to do the standing double crochet, then it will just be a chain 3 in place of that first double. So I'm going to work 3 sides for this first square. Just the same as any other square. All right, so this is Worked on 3 sides, and you can see on each side there are 2 clusters. So like we did with this small square, we had 4 clusters. This one we only have 2, so that means we are only moving across 2. So I'm going to join in the space after the second cluster. So 1, 2, joining right here. So I've got my chain 1 and I'm going to attach right there and just work the rest of the side like you have been on all the other squares, and in between clusters we are attaching to the blanket. So slip stitch right there, and we're doing our next cluster to finish off this corner. And slip stitch into that space here, right there. And we're going to chain 1 and attach to the first double crochet. And chain 1, cut our yarn, and that is it for the first square. So for the next square, it is the same thing, but we are doing the starting the 2 sides. We are attaching so that there are 2 clusters between the squares. So attaching, working around, attaching in the same place like how we did up in the small squares, and then working our way down, finishing down here, cutting our yarn, finishing off. So I'm going to get our next center and I will show you the join for the second and the rest of the squares so that you can see the second square is the same as the rest. So I'm just going to show you this one real quick. So join our we're ready to join our next square. So I have worked 2 sides, chained 1, and I'm going to join in the space after the second cluster. Right, and finish this corner. I'm going to slip stitch my join in between those 2 clusters there. 3 more doubles. I'm going to do my slip stitch join into this space here. It's the same space that I joined the other square. Chain 1 and work the last side. I'm going to join between my cluster on the mini square right next door. And I'm going to complete my corner here. And slip stitch into the corner. Show you this way. Slip stitching into the corner right here. And I'm going to chain 1 and slip stitch into the top of that first double crochet. Chain 1, cut my yarn. All right, and you're going to do that all the way across for the rest of your the rest of your mini squares on this edge. So we are going to start in our corner. I'm going to attach my yarn and I'm going to chain 7. So this is going to count as a chain, or I'm sorry, this is going to count as your first double crochet and a chain 4 space. All right, and then each space around, so we are going to be working in the spaces and the spaces between the squares. So working here and working here all the way around or all the way across this row. So we started in our corner and we are going to be uh, finishing the corner with 2 double crochets. All right, now we are going to chain 3 and working another 2 doubles into that next space. Chain 3, working 2 more doubles in between those squares. Chain 3, working 2 more doubles in that next space. Chain 3. So you're just going to continue working the chain 3 and 2 double crochets in the spaces. So again, you're working in the middle of the square on the uh, in between the seam of the 2 squares, middle of the square, and the seam. So that is what you're going to be working along this side of the row. Working your 2 double crochets, chain 3, 2 double crochets, chain 3. And I will meet you when we get back to our corner so I can show you what to do from there. I've worked the first side of my corner. Now I'm going to work the second side. For the chains in between, I'm going to chain 4. And I'm going to work my other 2 double crochets on this side. All right. And for this side of the blanket, we're going to work our 2 double crochets in this space. And we're doing the same thing with 3 chains in between each of those. Right. Chain 3. And on this spot, we are going to work in between those 2 sections with our 2 double crochets. Chain 3. And I am skipping the 2 double crochets in this row, and I'm working only in the spaces with the 1 double crochet bar right there. So 2 doubles in that space, chain 3, skipping that 2 double spot there and working into this 1 double space right here with my 2 doubles. Right now I'm going back to working in spaces. I'm going to do that, chain 3, work into my spaces, chain 3, work into the next space, chain 3, and the next. Okay, and then we have gotten to our two sections connecting together. So I'm just going to do my two doubles right in between those sections. 3 chains and working into my next space. And that's how you're going to work this side of your blanket. And you're just going to do the same thing up here across the other mini square side. And then this is the same as when you work on the other long side of your blanket. And I'll meet back up with you when we are at our starting point for this row. And when we reach our first corner, I'm just going to do my chain 3 here. And I'm going to do one double into that corner space. And I'm going to slip stitch into that chain 7 space. Right? And then I'm going to chain 7 again. And two doubles into this chain 7 space. Chain 3, work into my chain 3 space from the previous row with two doubles. And it is just a repeat of two doubles, chain 3, two doubles, chain 3. And you're doing that all the way around. All right. So you're just going to continue that all the way around. And in your corner spaces, your corners are going to be two doubles, chain 4, two doubles. And that is in every corner except for your beginning row. So your next corner will be two doubles, chain 4, two doubles. And that for the other three corners. So for this corner, you are going to work this row all the way around and work another row just like this all the way around. So you do the same thing when you get back to this row, join here, work your 7 chains, your two doubles in this space, and then work all the way around just exactly the same way that you're doing row 2 of this border. So row 2 and row 3 are the same thing. And I will be back with you when we're ready for row 4. All right, here is the last row of our border, and we are going to do the same thing for the corner that we've been doing. So it's just going to be 7 chains and 2 double crochets. Right, that's the same thing. Now for all of the sides, so all the corners are going to be the same. It's 2 doubles, chain 4, 2 doubles. That is every single corner. But along our sides, we are going to do something a little different in these spaces. So in the spaces, we are going to do 2 doubles, chain 3, and we're working 2 more doubles in that same space. All right. So it gives it a little bit of a nice point there. And now the next space, we're not going to chain anything. We're just going to work directly into the next space with 2 doubles, chain 3, 2 doubles. Okay. So you see how that point is happening in those spaces? So again, the same thing, no chains, but we're going to work into the next space with 2 doubles, chain 3, 2 doubles. All right, and that is how you are going to work all the way around your blanket for your fourth row. So it's just your two doubles, chain four, two doubles in the corners. In each space, it's going to be two doubles, chain three, two doubles. In the next space, two doubles, chain three, two doubles. And it just repeats that way all the way across the blanket. And I will show you the end result of this corner when I have completed this row so you can get a look at what it's looking like. And that is the end of our border. And that is what it's looking like. And then you would just cut your yarn and tie it off like usual. So that is it for our awkward granny square blanket pumpkin spice edition. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you have a wonderful week and you find joy in the little things.